Hello everyone, DCB here, and welcome to another discussion video. In this discussion video, I would like to discuss and look into what the martial arts do wrong, or any sort of self-defense class do wrong. But before I begin, if you enjoyed the videos, please do leave a like and subscribe. Now, what do I mean by that martial arts or self-defense classes in general do things wrong? I'm a martial artist myself. I study the way of warriorship, if you want to call it that, the way of self-defense, the way of self-improvement, and the way of self-growth. So what do I mean by that? A lot of martial arts do things wrong. Let's look at the system generally, shall we? That there are disciplines of self-defense. You got stuff like boxing, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, MMA. You know, those are the ones that most people know about. Now, each of those particular areas have strengths and weaknesses when it comes to their particular way of training, of their particular way of development, of the particular way of conflict resolution when it becomes physical. Most of these arts, these ways, focus on physicality and how their teachings are better than others' teachings in dealing with that situation. A boxer will focus mainly on big hits and, swings. They're very powerful, they're very big, and generally very punchy. Taekwondo, which is supposed to be the way of the hand and foot, is mainly focused on footwork and kicks. Judo is mainly focused around grapples, throws, holds. Aikido is more of like using the person's momentum against them, but that is once again more flowy, not so much punchy. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is floor work, holds on the floor, how to get somebody to the floor. It's ground related, and the mixed martial arts, as we know it, which has become a sort of television spectacle and big sport, sort of tries to mix them all into a match, which does involve some punches and kicks, but will 9 times out of 10 end up on the floor. There is hardly any matches that are purely based and won of MMA where they are not on the floor. So that's sort of like how a fight in the street would be. You would have your extreme distance, your close distance, your grappling distance, and your floor distance. Okay? So in terms of how a situation may develop where you would have to defend yourself, it is the closest, but it still doesn't get it 100%. Let's look at it, for example. They wear shorts and gloves and nothing else really. Their chests are mainly shaved, and they do try to oil up as well to make sure that any sort of holds or grips on them are less likely to take effect. Now, in the street, would you be wearing just shorts unless it's a really, really, really hot day and you're on the beach? Possibly not. In fact, if you're in England or the Northern Hemisphere in winter, the likelihood of you wearing shorts, unless you have something very wrong with you, is extremely unlikely. You're not likely to wear just shorts. You're not likely to be shaved. Before you begin a match, you're not going to bow to each other in any sort of way like every other martial art. There is no referee. This is a big thing. There is no referee saying when things are starting, when things are stopping. Another big thing is that you're normally fenced off from any outside interference in MMA. They're in a cage, for damn sake. They're in a cage. One of the greatest risks of any sort of attack is multiple opponents at once. And you really, really don't want to go to the ground when there's multiple opponents. If you focus on one thing too much, for example, Taekwondo, when you're kicking, if you watch the professional Taekwondo championships, the Olympics, you will notice that they're all very, very side-on, producing as little target as possible, and have guards like that covering their target, and one leg forward. Yes, they can get lots of accuracy and lots of speed with that kick, but if those kicks were knockout kicks, then the first person to land a kick would win. There is no points-based system in street. Once again, in boxing, that's 3-minute rounds, which has a ref that says stop, break. When they get tired, they cuddle in, and then they don't worry about getting hit anymore because they know that their opponent won't hit them. When they're in the clinch, their guard, once again, is very tight. Here, the boxing gloves are here to cover their faces a lot more, because that's the biggest target for a boxer, is the head. You want to get that head to get the knockout. Yes, they focus more on strength, then they got obviously their reach, but the guard is still very much here. If somebody was to punch you, if you were here, this would hit you in the eye. And they'd probably do damage to your wrist, but the gloves are really, really thick. Their wrists are strapped as well because of the weights of the gloves. Judo, once again, because it focuses on throws and grapples and holds, they're not used to getting punched or getting hit. The same with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. Because they focus so much on the floor work, and they're damn good on the floor, they're not used to getting hits, because there's absolutely no strikes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's no elbows, there's no punches, there's no kicks, there's no knees. There is no strikes whatsoever. Even with karate, which focuses on both hands and feet, there is no grappling. There is no grappling in karate. It's punches and kicks. Yes, they do elbows as well, and they do knees, but there is no grappling. There is no floor work. So, to be a true practitioner of self-defense is to not just focus on one discipline once you get to a certain level. Yes, you can start with a certain discipline as your main focus. What is your main worry? Where do you think you are most likely to be attacked? If you are a woman, a female, a lady, you're more likely to be grabbed and forced to the floor. Let's admit it, that is what's going to happen. So something like judo and something like BJJ would be an awesome starting point for them. So they are more comfortable with being thrown, more comfortable of being on the floor, learning how to move on the floor with somebody on top of them, with somebody trying to move themselves on top of them. That whole premise is a brilliant starting point for females. Males are more likely to start with stuff like boxing, karate, taekwondo. They also will look at judo, maybe, but they're not, and BJJ and stuff like that, and especially the MMA, when testosterone feels and stuff like that. They're more likely to go with the more impact-heavy martial arts and self-defences. The biggest shame is that there's not a lot of big, high-profile female martial artists or self-defense practitioners that are portrayed on the media or produced in sport. It's only recently, since 2012, when boxing was first introduced into the Olympics as a ladies' female participation, that's got sort of higher interest. Taekwondo has always had ladies participating in a ladies' tournament. Once again, it's not been as highly profiled. Unfortunately, there needs to be, in my opinion, equal portrayals of both genders when there are sports being done, be it, I know it's a bit off topic, but football, rugby, cricket, basketball, that kind of stuff. No matter what sport it is, regardless if it's a male team or a female team, they should both get the same level of interest. They should both get the same level of airtime. Same with the boxing, you know. I know a lot of people are like, oh, women shouldn't box. Why not? Why should a woman not be allowed to box? Why should a woman not see other women fight? Why is it wrong to allow women to see themselves in a strength position that they can learn to defend themselves? I think we should have a lot more mainstream female self-defense things, female contact sports, female things like that on TV, so that young girls, men, boys, women, whoever can have the opportunity to watch it, and as they watch it and pass it on to their friends, oh, I've watched this, it might be worth a go, you know, let's have a look at it. It will increase the understanding of it, you know. But I also think that for some of those things like boxing, judo, MMA, etc., that there should also be mixed tournaments of men and women competing against each other, not just the same sex against the same sex, because once again, it's highly unlikely that you'll be attacked by the same gender. Once again, this is more a woman thing, because for your guy, you're definitely more likely to be hit by another guy than you are a girl. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to be hit by a woman. It doesn't mean that. That's a misconception, that women don't start fights. Trust me, they can, if they wanted to. It's just less likely. You're more likely to be assaulted by a man. Unfortunately, we men are bits of a twats, especially when we're drunk. Let's be completely honest. But it does not mean that women can't be the same. It's just less likely. This is a lot of stuff that is not covered in any of the in a lot of self-defense places. They focus a lot on the physical aspect. Great. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with becoming physically fitter, having a higher endurance, getting a lower body mass or higher body mass depending on your goals. Nothing wrong with learning how to defend yourself with certain techniques. But once you get to a certain level, brown belt, black belt, whatever the belt system is in that, or if you're just thinking about starting competitions, if you're a boxer or an MMA, you get to that point when you're ready to go into the ring for the first time, you should start thinking a bit more about, okay, this is what I've learned so far. How would this actually work in real life? How would it actually work? When in that match would I be in really, really trouble if it was on the street? Because once again, every match that you see of boxing, MMA, TKD, karate, whatever it is, it's always one-on-one. And you always start with acknowledging your opponent, with acknowledging the ref, and he or she gets you started. And he or she will stop it whenever they deem fit. they will call break or yami or whatever it is that stops that particular match. You know, especially in a lot of the points-based sports of the fighting sports, like TKD. Once again, the head is worth the most points. Obviously, that's where your knockout's going to be. You know, you get 1 point for a punch in TKD. 1 point, regardless of where it is. You get 2 points for a kick to the stomach, 3 points to the kick to the head. So you'll always see these flicky kicks, these snappy fast kicks. Boom, boom, always aim for the head. If you miss with that kick, and they're coming in with a punch, or they, you know, you go to kick them, they go out and then come in before you're able to fire off another one, you're not used to fighting with both hands forward. You're used to fighting like that in TKD. In boxing, you're used to fighting like that. You know, and more of the judo stuff, it's like that. It's more of a realistic stance, if you think about it. Hands midway, so you can block, you can punch, you can parry. You know, if a kick comes in, you can just get out the flipping way. Now, kicks take longer than punches, generally speaking. It's further away, it's got a further distance to travel. Yes, it's got more range, but that's what it's for. It's for long range. It's not a starting technique, because generally, if you are going to be assaulted in the street, it's going to be close. It's going to be close quarters. You know, you're going to be like here, you're like, no, God, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. The punch comes in. You don't have time for a kick if that punch comes in. Especially if they're as close as I am to this camera. You know, this is what a lot of places don't teach. I'm not saying that self-defense classes are wrong. I'm not saying that wanting to learn self-defense, regardless of what self-defense it is wrong. I'm saying, yeah, go for it. Go for it. But just be aware that the stuff that you are learning there, some of the responses that you learn there, shouldn't be your set responses. Especially if you're at the higher grade levels or you've cut to the highest grade there is in that particular discipline. Anyway, that's my thoughts on what self-defense does wrong. As always, please do leave your own thoughts in the comments below. Click any videos you like, subscribe to the channel. Until the next one, this is DCB. Knowledge is power if we use it wisely.